Rachel. Hi, how are ya? How you doing? I'm a health coach and plant person thing. And so, anyways, today I have a planty video for you. I have quite a few plant projects I'm going to be doing. I'm going to be kind of experimenting with some pot projects. Not like pot, like planting pots. I don't experiment with pot. Oh my gosh. Get it together, Rachel. Okay, so I can't stop. So I'm going to be trying out some different projects with some planting pots. I have some terracotta pots, and then also I was wanting to see if I can make some pots look a little cuter and a little bit more different. I do really like the terracotta look, but I also like to seal my pots for plants that don't need that much aeration, or I don't want to water them as much. I have all sorts of different kinds of plants in terracotta. They just dry out a little faster than I would like them to, so it makes them a little bit more high maintenance, and that's kind of annoying. Any hoodles. I'm going to be doing that. I'm going to also be separating my ZZ plant just because it's kind of flopping over, just since I had to take all of the bulbs out to clean them up and get rid of all the rotting that had been caused by it being overwatered at the store. So I am going to be putting those bulbs in smaller pots so that way the roots can take hold more easily. Just because in that bigger pot, they can't take hold the way that I would like for them to. So I'm going to be doing that. Also, I'm going to be watering some of my plants and taking care of the fish tank. And that's it. So I'll kind of show you how I water my plants a little bit and how I take care of them. I don't water them all every week. I don't water them all even every other week. There's some plants I only water like every month. And there's some plants that I water several times a week just because they're starts and I like for them, especially if they're water propagated, I like to water them like 2 to 3 times a week. Unless there are succulents that haven't hardened off, but even succulents that have hardened off in their starts, I will water them a couple times a week. So, you know, they just do fine. It kind of seems to help them a little bit better for me. That's not going to be the case for everyone, but it works really well for me. Today I'm going to be actually doing a lot of fertilizing. So first I'm going to water all my plants with my cactus fertilizer. Then I also need to water my orchid with some orchid food and my African violets. I will sometimes use either one of these for other blooming plants, but not always. Just whatever. And then I'm going to be using this on some of my plants, like my ones that are working on rooting in more, or I just feel like need a boost. I'm also going to be using some fish tank water on some things. First, I'm going to be watering this. So I usually will do 2 doses of this. A few of my succulents I want to use the Super Thrive on, so I went ahead and I put some of this in there, or this. I put this in this dropper bottle because you only use so small of an amount that if I'm going to put this directly on a plant, which I do sometimes before I water it, I will do like 4 little drops. If I'm going to put it directly in my watering pitcher, then I will do like this much. Sometimes I'll do twice if I'm feeling crazy, but you really only need to use 1/8 of a teaspoon, so that is perfectly fine. Over in this window I have most of my succulents. These ones I just planted, they're still working on rooting in, and that is why I wanted to use this Super Thrive, is because I have quite a few succulents that are still rooting in, and the Super Thrive really helps them to root. I'm going to go ahead and use my cactus fertilizer on my lipstick plant just because it's kind of a succulent plant. And I want it to have a little bit of fertilizer. I'll also use it on my palms too, just because, I don't know, I do. Oh, and check this out. I think it's working on trying to trail. So this is going to be awesome if it does trail. I'm really excited to see how it looks. This one is slowly starting to recover from me cutting it off, but it's doing better. When it comes to watering my succulents, I really just give them a little tiny bit. Like this one that has a lot of cactus in there. This one I don't water too terribly often, but because it is a cactus. My cactuses I water every 2 to 4 weeks, but I just give them a little bit of water just to where it's like, it's still pooling up on the top and then it drains down. Watch this. It's going to pool up at the top and cover the whole top, and now it's draining down. If it pooled up like way too much and then it took forever to drain down, that would mean that I watered it too much. But like, you know, if it pools up like half an inch, this one you won't be able to tell because there's rocks, but you know, it's still pooling up. This big guy back here, I don't move him because he's supported by the wall. There. So for my bigger plants, I don't follow the exact same rule, a little bit, but like that's probably going to be enough. Like for this, I'll probably give it like a cup of water. And sometimes, depending on the soil, stuff will go through a lot faster. The Super Thrive is going to be very helpful for plants like these ponytail palms that have recently been transplanted. My Sansevieria doesn't need water, nor do any of my Dracenia. My Silencios are one of those kinds of plants that I definitely like to water every week. My other succulents, I don't need to water quite as often. My Silencios just like to be watered more often. This Peperomia though, I watered last week and I'm not going to water it this week. This flowering Kalanchoe though is working on propagating and growing a lot, so I am going to water that for sure. All of these plants need to be watered about every week, and so do all my little starts. I like having all these starts in this big pot with these bigger plants because that way all the water that goes down lower is going to be taken up by these bigger plants. So that way there doesn't get to be too much moisture in this pot. I was watering all my other plants and I realized I water all my plants the same way that I water my succulents. I just don't let them dry out all the way usually, depending, like my rubber trees and my ZZ plant, which already kind of a succulent, but like my rubber trees and a few other things I'll let dry out all the way just because they can take it, but like I don't need to. Whereas all my other plants, I let them get like, stick my knuckle in, depending on how deep the plant is, like to my first or second knuckle, and if it's dry, then I will water it. If it's really wet down lower, but not as wet up higher, then I'll know not to water it through all the way, just water it on the top a little bit more, so that way it's not still soaking the bottom and getting disgusting down there. So I like to water all my plants all the way through if I can, but if it's not going to be good for that plant because it has too much soil at the bottom already and I don't want it to be completely wet at the bottom every time, then I won't do that. I'll only water it as much as it needs. That's just something that you have to gauge for yourself to be able to figure out. As long as you don't water everything too often and you don't have any finicky plants, then you won't have a problem with it. Like if you only have easy plants, then only water them every week or two and water them all the way through. So like plants I can do that with. Of course my rubber tree, I can let that be fine for like a month and it'll be totally cool. But like my asparagus fern, I have a very different kind of asparagus fern. Not everybody has my kind of asparagus fern. It looks different than other people's, but it is an asparagus fern. I guess there's more than one kind, but mine, I can water it every 2 weeks and it'll be fine. Philodendrons and pothos, usually I can get away with them being only watered every 2 weeks if I need to. However, if they are starts and they're not as strong, then I need to water them every week. And my Monstera, I can water it every 2 weeks and it'll be fine. Other kinds of plants only need to be watered once a week. My ferns, all my ferns, except for my rabbit's foot fern, but I only have Boston ferns and my, oh, what is it called? It's more succulent. It's an austral gem fern, and I can actually water that one every week and a half. And then what else? My philodendron Salome, that one, 2 weeks is kind of pushing it, but it is totally fine with a week. My air plants, I soak them every week. If you don't want to soak them, take the time to just soak them for 30 minutes, then you have to rinse them underwater or mist them every day, or rinse them underwater every three days. My angel wing begonias, they do great. I don't have to water them every week if I don't want to. However, my Rex begonias, I do need to water them every week. And if I let them go any longer than that, then they are not happy. Sometimes they need to be watered more than that. So I do find that my angel wing begonias are much easier to care for than the Rex begonias. Same with the flowering begonias. I'd stay away from my flowering begonias. Arrowhead plants are pretty good with that too. I do like to water mine every week though. Most of my plants I water every week. There's a few of them that are ridiculous and I have to water them more than that. I don't recommend those ones necessarily for everybody or anybody because they're annoying, but I still have them and I like them. Other plants other than succulents. My African violets, actually, because they are a succulent type of a plant, I don't have to water them every week if I don't want to also. There's so many different plants that you don't have to water every week. But then of course there's things like the dragon trees and stuff that don't look very succulent, but they will do just fine without watering. I water mine like once a month, along with my Sansevieria, my rubber tree. My ZZ plant, I only water every 2 months usually. Actually, since I've repotted it, I haven't watered it either. That's been a couple of months now. So I want to repot it today, so we'll see. With this, I'm going to test it. I feel only a little bit of dampness on this plant. It's not bone dry, and I don't need this to get bone dry. I prefer all of my non-succulent plants to not get bone dry. Even though I could let this go for a few more days, I don't want to. I want to go ahead and water this just so that way the fine, delicate roots will stay healthy and happy. See how I'm giving it more water than my succulents, but it's still draining quickly. I don't want to overflow the pot, of course. I like to leave 1 inch or 2 depending on how much I'm going to be watering my plants. So my ones I'm going to give more water, I leave a couple of inches. My ones I'm not going to give as much water, I can leave a little less. Some of my succulents, I only have a 1/2 inch of lip, and that's perfectly fine. Another really easy to care for plant is this umbrella tree. I forget about it, and sometimes it doesn't get watered for like a month, and it's fine. And it still grows. Sometimes I water it every week. It doesn't really seem to care. So for my orchids, I'm using this because I like to get organic stuff, but this is all that was in the store during the season. Walmart has the spoma. That's like the only place in town that has a spoma except for my local nursery, but it's really expensive there. Like this bottle is like not quite $4 at Walmart, but it's over $7 at my local nursery. So where am I gonna buy it from? You know what I mean? It doesn't need to be like over $7. I only have 1 orchid, so I'm only going to use just this little tiny amount, and that's it. I'm gonna put some water in this and swish it around and then pour it over my orchid. There's a little bit of dirt in there because I set one of my pots on top of there when it was draining, but that's not going to harm it at all. It'll be just fine. But you can see there's only like a 1/3 of a cup of water in there, and that's what I'm going to use to water my orchid. When I water my orchid, I like to make sure I can just get all around it because the roots are everywhere, and it's not going to soak through the same way soil is because it's just going to go right through to the bottom. So I need to get it all around everywhere. And then whatever's left, I just pour out. When I water my African violet, I've been using this And I just put like 7 drops on there. And then of course I only water underneath the leaves. I have one that you can water, well, and this one was the same way, where they're actual African violet pots. My cat broke this one to her. Luckily the outside one didn't break for some reason, but I prefer to water them this way compared to from the bottom in the pot and it's soaking it up. This is just easier. So you can see I put all of my air plants in here, and I used water that was room temperature from my teapot because I always keep filtered water in my teapot in case I want to make tea. And so that way it was room temperature, and it doesn't have any chemicals in it to bother the plants. So what I do with this usually is, since it's good filtered water, I will water my prayer plants with this, or any kinds of plants that have more sensitivities, or I'll just water whatever needs to be watered, just because I don't want to let this good water go to waste. And then I will let these all kind of drip dry upside down, because I don't want water staying inside of them. This way it will prevent rot. So now I take my pile of air plants and I just stack them all in here together to where they support each other, so that way they're not going to have problems from being upside down and getting pushed. And I don't know why my husband's being so noisy, but he is, so whatever. But oh, look at this stray one that just stays alive. It's not even on the rest of the plant. It's slowly starting to die, but it's been alive for months, like probably half a year. So now all of them are upside down, and I'll just leave them like this for probably about another hour, or until I remember about them and I put them away. I'm putting moss on some of my plants. I don't have quite enough for all the ones I want to do, and I also want to get some Spanish moss because I think it'd look gorgeous on my rubber tree, but I have to wait and do that tomorrow. But I want to put moss on a lot more of my plants, because putting it on my fern, on my Boston fern, and having that extra layer to keep the soil more evenly moist or something, I don't know, but my fern is so incredibly happy now, so I'm just wanting to try it on a lot of my other plants. I'm not going to put it over on my succulents or anything. And I'm also not going to put it on like my pilea or things that propagate and pop really easily like that. I just don't really want to worry about it. But other plants are more slower growing. I have to pull the moss back anyways to water it, and so when I do that I will check to see how the growth is doing, and I can remove moss over where anything is trying to grow up. I think this should work out well, and I hope this experiment turns out good.
I could float without wings, touch the sky, feel the sunlight kiss my face, fly through space
really like how this basket turned out. I didn't think it would be this adorable. There was a little bit of gaps where the hot glue kind of made some more spaces in between the lighter colored cording, and so putting the jute in between filled up those gaps, and I think it made it look actually a lot cuter. I've been actually looking for little baskets, like wire baskets and things to wrap stuff around, because I was just going to use it as like a cover pot. Then on Plantarina's Instagram, she had a video where she's just gluing it right onto the pot. I'm like, duh, why didn't I never think of that? So, yeah. That's all that I'm going to have for you today, because I want to include more of the moss that I'm putting on my pots. So since I have more terracotta plant things, whatever that I'm gonna do, I figure, which actually I've started on it a little bit right here, I'll wait and do that tomorrow, and so I might even have the part 2 to this video uploaded on Friday, just early enough for you guys. I normally upload on Wednesdays and Saturdays, but since I am doing this in 2 parts, I feel like it's kind of mean of me to wait so long, so I might have it up on Friday if I get it done in time. So we'll see. But since you are seeing this video before I'm done with the other one, if you have any more questions on how I water my plants, then please do let me know in the comment section below. And if you happen to see this video after I post the part 2, then please do go ahead and leave a question and I will answer it in another video for you. Or I'll just answer you in the comment section if it's really easy to answer. I hope you have a really great day, and I hope you enjoyed this video and found it helpful for you. Hang on a second. Can I just brag about this lipstick plant really quick? I mean, I'm pretty sure that's what this is, and because it keeps growing like a lipstick plant, and it was like, see all this right here? Like this, and all this, and this, and this. Like all of that is new within the last, like, not even a month, like maybe 3 weeks. So awesome! I love this plant. That's all, and I'll talk to you later. Bye! Have a really great day.